The police dog wouldn't stop barking at the Army general during the ceremony. Caleb tightened the leash, praying his partner would settle down, until the dog suddenly lunged, tearing free and leaping straight at the general in front of the entire base. At first, it looked like a career-ending disaster, but what happened next silenced every single soldier on the grounds. Now, before we reveal the full story, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The morning sunlight glinted off Officer Caleb Dixon's dress uniform as he adjusted his collar for the 5th time. Behind him, Archie, his Belgian Malinois partner, watched with intelligent amber eyes, head tilted as if amused by his handler's nervous precision. "Everything has to be perfect today, Arch," Caleb muttered, running a lint roller over his sleeve. Fort Richardson's annual Military Excellence Ceremony wasn't just another event. It was the most prestigious gathering on the base's calendar. This year carried greater significance with the arrival of General Douglas Pryor, the decorated 4-star general whose strategies had reshaped modern military doctrine. Caleb's selection for the security detail had initially felt like an honor, until he'd learned about Pryor's notorious disdain for the K-9 program. The whispers painted him as a traditionalist who considered working dogs an unnecessary liability. "Officer Dixon," Captain Brenner had said during yesterday's briefing, "given the general's opinions on the K-9 program, ensure your partner is on his absolute best behavior." The message was crystal clear. Don't give Pryor ammunition against their program. Archie yawned loudly, momentarily breaking Caleb's concentration. Despite being one of the most effectively trained dogs on the base, with exceptional scores in detection, protection, and apprehension, Archie possessed an unpredictable, playful streak that had landed them in hot water more than once. Caleb winced, remembering the firearms demonstration last month when Archie had decided the visiting senator's shoelaces needed immediate inspection, knocking the dignitary off balance mid-speech, or the time during parade exercises when his partner had spotted a squirrel and dragged Caleb across the perfectly aligned formation, leaving chaos in their wake. "This isn't like those other times, buddy," Caleb said, kneeling to check Archie's tactical vest. "General Pryor already thinks our entire program is a waste of military resources. One slip up today, and he'll use it as evidence to cut funding across all bases." He attached the ceremonial leash to Archie's collar, the special one reserved for high-profile events, with the base insignia woven into the sturdy material. "Just this once, buddy. No games today," Caleb pleaded, looking directly into his partner's intelligent eyes. "I need you to be the perfect military dog for the next 4 hours. Our whole future might depend on it." Archie responded with a single solemn bark that Caleb chose to interpret as agreement, though the slight wag of his tail suggested the message might not have fully registered. As they stepped outside, the base was transformed. Red, white, and blue bunting decorated the reviewing stands. Honored Guard members stood at perfect attention, preparing for the inspection. High-ranking officers in full-dress uniforms moved with purpose, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. The ceremonial grounds hummed with controlled energy as officers stood at attention under the cloudless sky. Caleb positioned himself and Archie precisely at the east entrance, maintaining perfect posture despite his growing anxiety. "Convoy approaching Eastern Checkpoint," crackled his earpiece. "ETA 3 minutes. Archie had been compliant thus far, but as the distant sound of vehicles approached, something changed in the Belgian Malinois' demeanor. His ears pricked forward, body tensing in a way that sent immediate alarm signals through Caleb's experienced handler instincts. "Easy, Arch," Caleb whispered. The motorcade came into view, 3 identical black SUVs with darkened windows, flanked by military police. Intelligence had reported increased chatter about potential threats against high-ranking officials, though nothing specific had materialized. General Douglas Pryor emerged with the straight-back posture of a man who'd spent 4 decades commanding respect. His uniform bore the weight of countless medals, his weathered face expressionless as he surveyed the ceremony grounds. "Archie, stay," Caleb whispered firmly, feeling his partner's growing tension. Something was different about the dog's behavior. This wasn't his usual playfulness, but something more focused, more urgent. As Pryor approached their position, Archie suddenly barked, a sharp, authoritative sound that shattered the ceremonial silence. The general security team tensed, hands moving toward concealed weapons. "Control your animal, officer," Pryor ordered, his voice low but carrying. "Yes, sir. Apologies, sir," Caleb responded, face burning with embarrassment. Pryor resumed his walk, but Archie's behavior worsened. The dog's barking became more insistent, straining against the leash as officers exchanged uncomfortable glances, the perfect ceremony derailing before their eyes. With a powerful lunge, Archie surged forward, dragging Caleb several steps before the leash slipped from his sweaty palm. In a blur of tan fur, Archie bounded directly toward General Pryor, who turned just in time to see 90 pounds of military working dog leaping toward him. The general's security team moved to intercept, but Archie was faster. He hit Pryor's chest with his front paws, nearly knocking the distinguished officer backward. Gasps echoed across the parade ground as the general. The ceremony progressed with military precision despite the awkward start, dignitaries seated in perfect rows facing the flag-draped stage. Caleb stood at his assigned position at the side of the stage, gripping Archie's leash so tightly his knuckles had turned white. His mind raced through possible explanations he could offer Captain Brenner afterward, though he knew no excuse would suffice. "Working dog handler requests permission to withdraw from ceremony," Caleb whispered into his comm unit, desperately hoping for extraction before anything else could go wrong. "Negative," came the immediate response from Captain Brenner. "Maintain position until ceremony conclusion. We'll discuss the incident afterward." The terse reply confirmed what Caleb already suspected. This would likely be his last assignment with the K-9 unit. By tomorrow, he'd likely be filing transfer paperwork, returning to regular patrol duty, while Archie would be reassigned to another handler who might not appreciate his unique abilities beneath the occasional mischief. The master of ceremonies approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to present our keynote speaker, General Douglas Pryor." Applause thundered across the assembly as General Pryor approached the podium, his earlier irritation now concealed behind a mask of professional dignity. Sunlight glinted off his numerous medals as he adjusted the microphone. "Distinguished guests, officers, and enlisted personnel," the general began, his authoritative voice carrying across the grounds without needing amplification. "The foundation of military excellence rests upon three pillars: discipline, precision, and unwavering reliability." As the general continued his address about military readiness, Caleb noticed a subtle change in Archie's demeanor. The dog's earlier playfulness had vanished completely, replaced by a focused alertness that Caleb recognized from their training exercises. Archie's ears rotated methodically, as if tracking sounds beyond human perception, his body tense but controlled. This wasn't the behavior of a dog seeking attention or mischief. This was Archie in working mode, the state he entered when detecting explosives or tracking targets. But what could he possibly be alerting to during a secure, thoroughly vetted ceremony? "When lives hang in the balance," General Pryor continued, "we cannot afford variables that introduce unpredictability. Every element of our operational framework must function with absolute consistency." Archie's breathing had changed now, becoming shallow and rapid. A quiet whine escaped his throat, the vocalization he'd been trained to use when confirming a positive detection but remaining in position. Caleb scanned the assembled crowd, the security positions, the rooftops of surrounding buildings, seeing nothing unusual. "Potential irregular behavior from K-9, Caleb whispered into his comm, professional instincts overriding his earlier embarrassment. "Request additional visual sweep of perimeter." "Negative, Dixon," came the annoyed response. "Security protocols active and fully functional. Control your asset." Archie's whining intensified as General Pryor reached the crescendo of his speech. The dog's eyes weren't on the general anymore, but scanning methodically across the assembly and surrounding areas as if tracking something in motion. "Recent advancements have eliminated the need for outdated methodologies," the general proclaimed, the irony of his words not lost on Caleb, as Archie's behavior increasingly suggested he detected something the human security elements had missed. Caleb felt the leash growing taut as Archie leaned forward, his nose working overtime, analyzing something in the air that remained imperceptible to everyone else. Years of partnership had taught Caleb to trust these signals. Archie's detection capabilities had located IEDs that had eluded electronic scanning equipment, found missing personnel when search teams had given up. "Sir," he tried again on the security channel, "my K9 is displaying alert behavior consistent with threat detection protocols." "Dixon, maintain your position and control your dog," Captain Brenner cut him off sharply. "This is your final warning." Sweat beaded on Caleb's forehead as he found himself caught between protocol and instinct. Archie wasn't just acting strangely, he was actively communicating that something was wrong. The same instincts that had saved lives during their deployment overseas were now setting off alarm bells that everyone seemed determined to ignore. On stage, General Pryor was building toward his conclusion, gesturing emphatically as he outlined his vision for the future military. When uncertainty is eliminated, when every component functions exactly as designed without deviation, only then can we guarantee the safety of our personnel and the success of our missions. Archie suddenly stiffened completely, his muscles coiling like springs beneath his tactical vest. Caleb had seen this posture only once before. Seconds before, Archie had launched himself at an armed insurgent approaching their patrol in Kandahar. Whatever the dog had detected, he was preparing to respond with everything he had. "Archie, steady," Caleb whispered urgently, tightening his grip on the leash while scanning for whatever threat had triggered his partner's response. The reinforced material dug into his palm as Archie's tension increased. General Pryor's voice reached its practiced crescendo, echoing across the parade grounds as he delivered the final lines of his address. "And so we stand vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges." The rest of his sentence was lost as several things happened simultaneously. Archie's muscles bunched and released with explosive force. The reinforced ceremonial leash, designed to withstand over 300 pounds of pressure, snapping with a sound like a firecracker. Caleb lunged forward, fingers grasping empty air as his partner became a tan blur of focused determination. "Archie, no!" Caleb shouted, his voice drowned out by General Pryor's startled, "What the—" The entire assembly seemed to freeze, watching in collective horror as the Belgian Malinois launched himself toward the stage in what appeared to be a second, more aggressive attack on the distinguished guest. Security personnel moved forward, hands reaching for weapons, but too slow to intercept the rapidly moving dog. Time seemed to slow as Archie sailed through the air, his powerful body perfectly aligned for maximum impact. Behind him, Caleb sprinted forward, desperate to prevent what looked like career suicide unfolding in front of hundreds of witnesses. But something caught his peripheral vision. A brief glint of light reflecting from the rooftop of the administrative building 300 yards behind the audience. The crack of a high-powered rifle shattered the frozen moment, the sound rolling across the parade grounds like thunder. Archie collided with General Pryor mid-leap, his 90-pound frame hitting the general's chest with precision and driving both of them backward behind the solid oak podium, just as a bullet cut through the space where Pryor's head had been the split second earlier. Pandemonium erupted. Security teams moved with practiced efficiency, surrounding the fallen general and the dog, forming a human shield as additional shots might follow. Officers screamed orders, attendees dropped to the ground, some crawling toward exits while others froze in terror. "Active shooter! Active shooter!" The alert blared through every comm unit as security teams pinpointed the shooter's location. "Sniper on building Charlie rooftop! All units respond!" Through the chaos, Caleb pushed his way toward the protective circle surrounding the stage, his heart pounding with fear for his partner. "K9 handler coming through, that's my dog!" The protective ring of security personnel parted slightly, allowing Caleb to see General Pryor on the ground, dazed but conscious, with Archie standing over him in a protective stance despite blood trickling from the dog's ear where the bullet had grazed him. The Belgian Malinois remained focused and alert, ignoring his own injury while scanning for additional threats. "Secure that animal!" a security officer shouted, weapon still drawn. "Stand down," Caleb countered, dropping to his knees beside his partner. He just saved the general's life. Blood matted the fur around Archie's ear, but the wound appeared superficial. The bullet had grazed rather than penetrated, leaving a furrow along the edge of his ear. The dog maintained his protective position over the general, who was now sitting up, one hand pressed against his chest, where Archie's impact had likely left bruises. "Shooter neutralized," came the report through the comms. "Suspect in custody on Building Charlie rooftop, sweeping for additional threats." Medical personnel rushed forward with stretchers and equipment, but General Pryor waved them back momentarily, his eyes fixed on the dog standing guard over him. "Is he hit?" he asked, his commanding tone now tinged with something new, concern. "Ear wound only, sir," Caleb reported, examining Archie carefully, while maintaining professional composure despite the adrenaline surging through his system. "Appears superficial. Preliminary ballistics assessment indicates the shot would have been fatal, sir," reported a security officer, examining the bullet's impact point, in the wooden backdrop behind where the general had been standing. "Direct trajectory to your position. If you hadn't been knocked down at that exact moment..." The implication hung in the air. General Pryor's eyes moved from the impact point back to Archie, who had finally relaxed his guard posture now that his handler was present, allowing the medic to clean his wound. "He knew," Pryor said quietly, realization dawning in his eyes. "From the moment I arrived, he was trying to warn us." Caleb nodded, the pieces falling into place. "That's why he was acting strange at your arrival, sir. And during your speech, he was detecting the threat before our security systems could identify it." The security team leader approached, his expression grave. "Sir, the shooter has been identified as Amir Kazemi, a known operative with ties to international terror organizations. He was equipped with military-grade weapons and had apparently been in position since before dawn. He'd created a hidden nest on the rooftop that evaded our standard security sweeps." "How did the dog detect him from that distance?" asked one of the security officers, looking at Archie with newfound respect. "Scent, most likely," Caleb explained, professional pride momentarily overcoming the residual adrenaline. "Belgian Malinois can detect human scent particles at extraordinary distances, especially with specific training. Archie has always had exceptional detection capabilities, better than any dog I've worked with." General Pryor was watching the interaction with intense interest, his earlier disdain for military working dogs noticeably absent. "In all my years overseeing special operations, I've prioritized technological solutions. Drones, sensors, advanced surveillance. I considered the K9 program a traditional element. We maintained more out of sentimentality than strategic value." He looked directly at Archie, who returned his gaze with intelligent focus. "I've never been so pleased to have my assessment proven wrong." The ceremony grounds had transformed from a scene of military pageantry to an active investigation site in a matter of minutes. Despite the medical team's insistence, the general had refused evacuation, accepting only basic field treatment while he observed the unfolding investigation. Archie sat calmly beside Caleb as a veterinary technician finished bandaging his ear, the white gauze stark against his tan fur. The K9 seemed almost nonchalant about his injury, maintaining his characteristic alertness despite the chaos surrounding them. "Trajectory confirmed, sir," announced the lead investigator, approaching General Pryor with a laser pointer. He activated the device, revealing a straight line from the administrative building's rooftop to where the general had been standing. The shot was expertly planned. Had you not been knocked down at that precise moment, the bullet would have struck you directly in the head. Base Commander Colonel Williams joined the growing circle, having just finished coordinating the full base lockdown protocol. "The evidence recovery team found his nest on the rooftop, sir. He'd created a blind using materials that matched the building's HVAC system, masking his heat signature from our thermal scans." "Yet this dog somehow knew," General Pryor said, turning toward Caleb and Archie. "From the moment my convoy arrived, he was alerting to something our entire security apparatus missed." As the conversation continued, Archie suddenly perked up, his bandaged ear twitching, as he caught a familiar scent. He turned toward the administration building just as a group of MPs escorted a handcuffed man toward a waiting transport vehicle. Even from this distance, Caleb recognized the precision with which Archie tracked the movement, the shooter being taken into custody. He's still monitoring the threat, Caleb explained, as the officers noticed Archie's focused attention. Even after neutralization, he'll maintain awareness until the threat is completely removed from the environment. 3 hours after the assassination attempt, the base remained under heightened security. The ceremony had been officially canceled, but a different kind of gathering had formed in the base commander's office. General Pryor, having finally submitted to a brief medical examination that confirmed nothing worse than bruising, stood with military straightness despite his ordeal. The room held an unusual assembly. Colonel Williams, Captain Brenner, several security chiefs, and most surprisingly, Officer Caleb Dixon with Archie sitting attentively at his side, the bandage on his ear now sporting a subtle American flag pattern added by an admiring medic. The preliminary report has been submitted to Joint Chiefs, Colonel Williams announced, closing a folder on his desk. They've classified this as a Tier 1 security incident. The shooter's connections to known terrorist organizations have elevated this to a matter of national security. General Pryor nodded, his expression solemn. What concerns me most is that our standard security protocols failed entirely. Without Officer Dixon's canine partner, we would be planning a funeral rather than an after-action review. The general approached where Caleb stood at attention, then did something that surprised everyone in the room. He knelt down to Archie's level, ignoring the way the movement wrinkled his immaculate uniform. I owe you both an apology, he said directly to Caleb, though his eyes remained on Archie. Particularly your partner here. My previous assessment of the K-9 program was not just incorrect, but dangerously misinformed. The general paused, seeming to make a decision. I think it's appropriate to share something I haven't discussed publicly. My opposition to the K-9 program wasn't based solely on professional assessment. His voice took on a more personal tone. During Operation Eastern Shield, my forward command unit was ambushed despite having a K-9 team attached. We lost 17 men, including the handler and his dog. I blamed the K-9 unit for failing to detect the ambush. The room remained respectfully silent as the general continued. What I learned years later, but refused to fully accept, was that the handler had actually reported potential threat indicators based on his dog's behavior. Those warnings were dismissed by the command chain, including myself, as overly cautious. He turned to face Caleb directly. Today, I nearly made the same mistake again, at the cost of my own life. That's not an error I intend to repeat. With deliberate movements, the general unpinned the Distinguished Service Medal from his own chest, one of the military's highest decorations for exceptionally meritorious service, and approached Archie. Colonel, I trust you'll document this appropriately, he said, then carefully attached the medal to Archie's tactical vest. This is rarely awarded outside combat operations, but I can think of no more meritorious service than saving the life of a fellow soldier while risking your own. General, sir, will ensure this action receives proper documentation and recognition in Archie's service records, Captain Brenner said. See that you do, General Pryor replied, returning to his full commanding presence. But this recognition, while deserved, isn't sufficient. He turned back to Caleb. Officer Dixon, I've spent the last hour on secure calls with Joint Special Operations Command. The intelligence we've gathered from today's incident suggests this assassination attempt was part of a larger coordinated effort targeting multiple high-ranking military officials. The general's expression became more focused, entering the strategic territory where he'd built his legendary reputation. JSOC is forming a specialized protective detail incorporating K-9 units with handlers who have demonstrated exceptional field judgment. This unit will operate as part of my direct command structure, providing protection for high-value personnel while helping to restructure our approach to K-9 integration across all branches. I want you and Archie to join this unit, effective immediately, General Pryor stated. Your team demonstrated capabilities today that we need to study, understand, and replicate. This will involve specialized training, classified deployments, and significant responsibility. Colonel Williams stepped forward. It's an extraordinary opportunity, Dixon. The general doesn't make these offers lightly. There's significant risk involved, General Pryor continued candidly. Today's incident confirms what intelligence has suggested. Our adversaries are becoming more sophisticated in targeting leadership. The environments you'll operate in will be challenging, the threats severe. He gestured toward Archie. But I've seen firsthand what this partnership is capable of. Sometimes the most valuable security assets aren't the ones we engineer in laboratories, but the ones built on trust, instinct, and natural abilities. We're still working to fully understand. Caleb straightened to attention, his decision already made. Sir, Archie and I would be honored to accept the assignment. General Pryor nodded with approval. Outstanding. Report to Andrews Air Force Base at 0600 tomorrow. You'll be briefed on the specifics of your first assignment en route. As the meeting concluded and the officers began to disperse, General Pryor held Caleb back for a final word. Officer Dixon, one more thing. That dog's ability to detect threats beyond our technical capabilities represents something we need to study more systematically. Your partnership might just rewrite our entire approach to protective operations. Sometimes, General Pryor said, with the first hint of a smile since the entire ordeal began, what appears as disruption is actually innovation we're not yet equipped to recognize. 1 week later, dawn had barely broken over the horizon as Caleb stood on the tarmac of Andrews Air Force Base, duffel bag at his feet, and Archie sitting alertly beside him. The Belgian Malinois looked impressively professional in his new tactical gear, specialized equipment reserved for the elite Joint Special Operations K9 units. The only indication of his recent injury was a small pink line along the edge of his ear, already healing into what would become just another badge of honor in his service record. A sleek C-17 Globemaster waited nearby, its massive cargo bay open as specialized equipment was loaded under heavy security. General Pryor's Distinguished Service Medal remained attached to Archie's new tactical vest. The paperwork making the unprecedented award official had been processed with remarkable speed, bypassing bureaucratic channels that normally took months. Officer Dixon, a voice called, and Caleb turned to see Master Sergeant Wilson approaching with a tablet. Final briefing before departure. Caleb nodded, accepting the device and scanning the highly classified operation parameters. Their destination had been revealed only that morning. A diplomatic summit in Southeast Asia, where multiple high-ranking military and government officials would be gathering amid credible threat intelligence. You and Archie will be operating as advanced surveillance, Wilson explained, pointing to specific sections of the briefing. The general believes Archie's detection capabilities might identify threats that our standard security protocols would miss. You'll have operational autonomy when it comes to threat assessment. We've incorporated some new tech into Archie's gear, Wilson continued, kneeling to indicate the specialized camera and communication system integrated into the tactical vest. R&D worked overtime on this, allows real-time transmission of Archie's perspective and vital signs to the command center, plus enhanced communication between you two when operating at distance. Dixon, a commanding voice called, and both Caleb and Archie turned to see General Pryor approaching, flanked by security personnel. The general had personally overseen the formation of the new unit, pulling strings across multiple command structures to assemble the specialized team in record time. Sir, Caleb responded, snapping to attention. The general nodded toward the waiting aircraft. Your new team's already aboard. 7 handlers and their K9 partners, all selected based on exceptional field performance. You'll be serving as operational lead for the K9 elements. Caleb blinked in surprise. Lead, sir? You and Archie demonstrated judgment that can't be taught in any training program, General Pryor replied. That's the quality we need heading this unit. The loadmaster signaled from the aircraft, indicating final preparations for departure were complete. It's time, General Pryor said, extending his hand to Caleb. Your country is asking more of you than most handlers will face in their entire careers. The threats are real, the stakes extraordinarily high. Caleb accepted the handshake firmly. Archie and I won't let you down, sir. I know, the general replied with certainty. That's precisely why you're going. As Caleb and Archie climbed the loading ramp into the massive aircraft, he reflected on how completely their lives had transformed. The rumbling engine signaled the beginning of not just a mission, but an entirely new chapter in their partnership. Whatever challenges awaited them in Southeast Asia and beyond, they would face them together. The handler who'd learned to trust his partner's instincts even when they defied explanation, and the dog whose extraordinary abilities had saved lives when all other systems failed. Settling into his seat as the massive aircraft began taxiing, Caleb looked down at Archie, who sat alert between his feet, ready for whatever came next. Just you and me now, buddy, he said quietly. The real work begins. Archie looked up at him with intelligent eyes that seemed to say he'd been ready all along. Have you ever witnessed an animal sense danger before humans could detect it? Animals possess incredible instincts that we're only beginning to understand, whether it's dogs detecting medical conditions before symptoms appear, or sensing natural disasters before our technology can. What do you think gives some animals this extraordinary sixth sense that can detect threats invisible to human perception? Would you trust an animal's instincts even when they contradicted all logical evidence? Caleb's willingness to believe in Archie's abilities ultimately saved lives. But many of us might dismiss unusual animal behavior as mere coincidence or mischief. If you enjoyed this incredible story of partnership and heroism, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary tales of working animals who go beyond the call of duty. Don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss our new uploads. Share this video with friends and family who appreciate the remarkable bond between handlers and their canine partners. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen now, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, with another brand new video.